I love food books. I love food books like I love good novels because they take you to worlds that you've never been to. Only better because you can taste these worlds. I have a healthy collection of food books, but there's always room for more learning. And this was a particularly great year for food books. But to help you narrow it down just in time for holiday gift giving, I'm going to give you my top picks of the year. But the best part is that you can win all of these books. No, literally all of these books. There are just 3 easy things that you have to do. 1. At some point in this video, I'm going to ask you a question and you have to answer it in the comments below, so stay tuned. 2. You have to be a subscriber to this channel and get 3 of your friends to subscribe as well. Now, I'm not gonna be the subscriber police, but if you get 3 friends to subscribe, I promise I will not be picking a friend as a winner. 3, you have to be signed up to our newsletter. Now that's super easy. I've put the link to the sign up in the description below, along with all the other rules to this awesome giveaway. Okay, time for my favorite books of the year. Come on. So I haven't ranked these books because there's much to love in all of them, but I will categorize them, which I think is a little bit more helpful. And we'll start with what I call the philosophy of cooking category, and that begins with Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat by Samin Nosrat. The premise of this book is really simple. If you can master the use of salt, fat, acid, heat, you can make really delicious food even without recipes. But what makes this book really special is that Samin goes to extraordinary and creative lengths to explain the how and the why behind these processes so that your mastery is built on true understanding. And that's what makes Samin a girl after my own heart. There are a million recipe creators out there, plenty on YouTube alone, but there are precious few teachers, and I think Samin is one of the best. She's also a really great writer, and I think you're gonna fall in love with her just like I did. Scraps, Wilt, and Weeds, Turning Wasted Food into Plenty by Mads Refslund and Tama Matsuoka Wong. This is a book by a Danish chef that worked under Noma's famous Rene Redzepi and also an American forager. And it really challenges the idea that there are foods that are worth more than other foods. What I mean by that is, for instance, broccoli florets are valued more than broccoli stems, or fish flesh versus fish skin. And this is a topic that fans of this show will know is close to my heart. We've talked a lot about food waste from the agricultural standpoint, food waste that happens on the farm, but this brings food waste into the kitchen. And it's full of new ways of thinking about what we would otherwise think of as trash food. The stuff, the bits, all the pieces that we throw away. It gives you new techniques, recipes on how to use things like even used coffee grounds. I just love that this book honors ingredients in the same way that we try to do here on True Food. Okay, now the next category is Cooking from Around the World, and we're going to start with Our Syria, Recipes from Home by Itab, Azzam, and Dina Mousawi. I should note here that I might be butchering people's names, and I'm really sorry about that. I think this book is really important for right now. We all know there is a horrific conflict going on in Syria, and I think cookbooks are an amazing way to put a human face to something that seems quite far away. This collection of recipes comes mainly from a clutch of women that you meet in this book who are Syrian refugees. And it's full of their own personal stories, some that are hilarious, some that are heroic, and others that literally brought me to tears. For instance, there is a recipe for chicken with frika, which is a roasted wheat that's really delicious. And it comes from a woman who tells a story of rockets raining down on Damascus, and she's fleeing with her husband, and she realizes that she's left a chicken in the fridge that she was going to cook for her sick brother-in-law, and she convinces her husband to turn around, and they go back for this chicken, which is sort of crazy, but it just shows the sort of the hospitality and the affection and the connection that these people have to their food and to each other. And when you cook these recipes, you can't not think of these very real people and all that they have gone through. So again, I think this is a must read. Tasting Georgia, A Food and Wine Journey in the Caucasus by Carla Capalbo. I feel like Georgian food has become very trendy lately, but my interest in the cuisine goes back to a 2013 Saveur article that I read, and I'll never forget it because the food seemed almost familiar to me because I was learning Persian cuisine from my mother-in-law, who is Persian British. And there was enough similarities there since the countries are so close, but yet new techniques and new ingredients like chilies and squashes and root vegetables and different kinds of nuts, chestnuts, things like that that aren't used in Persian cuisine. This is a beautiful deep dive into Georgian cuisine and culture and heritage, and I think it's going to become the seminal book on Georgian cuisine. The recipes are organized by region, which really puts the focus on how the landscape affects the food in Georgia in a way that it really doesn't anymore here in the United States. Georgian cooks are so in touch with the land and the seasons in a way that I crave to be, so I really found this book inspiring. Caucasus, A Culinary Journey Through Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Beyond by Olia Hercules. Another Georgian book! No. But there's more than Georgian cuisine in here. There's Azerbaijani, there's Armenian, all these lands that interconnect and share influences and flavors. Also, Olia is such a fun writer to read. This is actually like joining a smart, sassy friend on a deeply personal journey to discover her food roots. In my first reading of this book, I just zeroed in on this recipe for rice with a squash and walnut crust. It's studded with chestnuts and raisins and apricots. I found this recipe eye-opening, and it's just one of many that feel inventive and new, at least to me. She's also really good at simplifying things and giving you substitutes for things because she knows that certain vegetables and greens and things aren't available over here, and she doesn't stress about it. She makes you feel really comfortable about riffing and taking these recipes as inspiration, as a jumping off point. Istanbul and Beyond by Robyn Eckhardt. Now, I've been to Istanbul. I thought I knew Turkish food until I read this book. I love authors that deeply immerse themselves in the country, in the food, in the culture, and Robyn did just that. She learned the language, she traveled around the entire country. And in this book, she taught me about food regions that I didn't even know existed. Like, did you know that they grow corn along the Black Sea? There are recipes in here for corn salad with eggplant and dill and sweet buns full of caramelized corn flour. Like, that's Turkish food. Who knew? And I also love that there are familiar dishes in there that now I can recreate those beautiful grilled fish sandwiches that I ate along the Bosphorus. Yes. The Palestinian Table by Reem Kassis. Now we head to Palestine in two books for two different reasons. Disciples of Yotam Ottolenghi and Sami Tamimi, the London-based chefs originally from Jerusalem, will find a lot of this food familiar, but there is enough in these books that is new and exciting. Now, I like Reem's book because it is infused with emotion. She grew up in Palestine, and you can feel her longing for those days, and her longing to impart that heritage to her children who aren't growing up there. So you're going to find a lot of comforting dishes in this book, inspired by real people, a cast of characters that you'll meet along the way. Palestine on a Plate by Joudie Kalla. Palestine on a Plate feels like a really exciting, fresh new book. It's full of stunning photographs. It starts with a glossary of ingredients that really sets the tone for the flavors that you're going to be tasting throughout the book. And it's not strictly tied to tradition. She takes Palestinian flavors and riffs on them. For instance, these za'atar buns, which are really a riff on a recipe for cinnamon buns that she got from Nigella. It's foods like this that feel really accessible, slightly familiar, but with new twists. It really makes you feel like you can start cooking with this book right away. Unforgettable, The Bold Flavors of Paula Wolfert's Renegade Life by Emily Kaiser Thelen. Rounding out this category is a bit of a wild card. Eckhardt. It's a biographical cookbook. It's filled with over 50 recipes, but it's really about the life of Paula Wolfert, who may be one of those food writers you've never heard of, but you really should. Paula is unfortunately suffering from dementia, so this might be the last opportunity for her to share her memories of a life in food, as she does with the author Emily. I first found out about Paula on my first trip to Morocco. I took a cooking class in Marrakesh, and local Moroccan chefs were talking about this American food writer who wrote this book, Couscous, in the 1970s. Before I was born, before many of us were even thinking about Moroccan food, Moroccan flavors. She wrote a seminal cookbook called Couscous. And she then went on to be a pioneer in lots of other regions that seem kind of commonplace now, like Southwest France. Nobody was writing about that region at the time. And places that feel trendy now, like Georgian cuisine and Middle Eastern cuisines, Yemeni cuisine. Paula was going to places at the time that were so closed off. It was not a global world. So I find her to be a deeply inspirational woman. Hazana by Paula Gavin. In the vegetarian category, I have hazana, which means nourishment in Hebrew. Now, I almost resist classifying this as a vegetarian book. It is all vegetable-based recipes, but this isn't about meat substitutes. You're not gonna find tofu in this book. This is about letting vegetables carry a dish and really embracing how flavorful and how comforting and fulfilling they are. Now, this follows Jewish cuisine around the world. So it has a wonderful section where it describes Jewish culture in countries that have had major Jewish populations. And the recipes reflect all of those regions represented. It's just wonderful to trace the heritage through these recipes. There's also a section about Jewish holidays, which was fascinating for me. I'm not Jewish, so I loved learning about what these holidays are about and the foods that are important to them. Now, in the dessert category, we have Sweet by Yotam Ottolenghi and Helen Go. Now, I almost didn't get this book, and this comes from a massive Ottolenghi fan. In fact, I say that I was one of the earliest adopters of Ottolenghi in America. I had his original British cookbook before they reprinted it years later for the American market. I love Ottolenghi. I love his savory dishes, but I have been to the Ottolenghi cafes in London, and they have a gorgeous display of sweets in their window that entices you in. But they are also intimidating to me as a cook. They are so perfect. They are picture perfect. And I just thought Sweets by Ottolenghi would just be too far beyond my skill level. I wasn't interested in beautiful little cakes. So I didn't think I wanted this book, but I got it anyway because it's Ottolenghi. I can't help myself. But what happened was I started looking at this book and making a list of all the things that I was interested in. And let me show you that list. It filled up half a page I thought I only needed. And then it spilled over into the other side of the page. And then I stopped because I just thought, oh, I just want to cook this whole book. And I did start cooking from this book. I am going to be baking from this book all through the holidays. So I've tried these delectable pecan snowballs that just melt in your mouth. I've tried these chocolate banana pecan cookies because they use overripe bananas. And for Christmas, I plan on trying this take on sticky toffee pudding with a caramel and coconut topping. Yum. Dinner, Changing the Game by Melissa Clark. Now, the first in my single subject category is dinner. Yes, this is an entire cookbook on what to make for dinner. So forget it. You're not going to find anything else in this book, and that is its pure genius. So you have an ingredient, right? You have a chicken. What the heck do I do with this chicken? There are so many recipes for chicken alone that have different spice combinations. It gives you the inspiration for not just falling in the rut of the same 5 dishes that you fall back on for dinner. All of these recipes are categorized by the main ingredient. So you have something called the grind, which is, chopped and minced meats. There's tofu, there's grains, there's even, I love this, salads that mean it. Citrus, Recipes That Celebrate the Sour and the Sweet by Catherine Phipps. Ingredient-curious people like me are going to geek out over a book like this. I first heard Catherine talk about this book on a podcast, and I was immediately intrigued because she actually traveled to the growing regions where lots of these different citrus fruits grow. She not only introduces us to all the different types of citrus that you can cook with, but she gives us new techniques, tips, and tricks on what to do with citrus, like create citrus salts and citrus rubs, condiments that pull from all over the world, like Indian lime pickle. You'll find familiar recipes and new dishes like lemon pizzette that are little pizzas that actually have slices of lemon on top. It really works. Hey, guess what? It's time for our big giveaway question. Now here it is. What is your favorite food book of the year and why? Now, it can be one that I've mentioned, or it certainly can be a new one that I haven't. I want to hear the most compelling, passionate reasons why I should check out that book. Sell it to me, baby. Remember, if you come up with the best answer, you get to win every one of my favorite food books of the year. This is a tome. American Seafood, Heritage, Culture, and Cookery from Sea to Shining Sea by Barton Seaver. This is an absolutely epic book, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word. It's an almost cinematic tale of the fisherman and his respected prey. I love looking at history through the lens of food, and this was a fresh exploration for me into the ties that bind this nation to its seas. The book also contains a captivating and comprehensive catalog of more than 500 species of fish. This is a tremendous achievement, and I think it's an indispensable book. I am one of those people who go shopping for fish and I feel sort of helpless. I don't know fish as well as I know, say, vegetables, and I feel like I am armed with so much more information to make smart, environmentally sensitive decisions when I buy my fish. Now, I want to tell you very briefly about what's on my night table. These are not cookbooks, but books about food, food systems, food history, food culture, and I'm going to start with these two. The Potlicker Papers, A Food History of the Modern South by John T. Edge, and The Cooking Gene by Michael W. Twitty. Both of these books focus on the American South, specifically on the influence that African slaves had on Southern American culture and food. Now, they pull no punches. They take to task many of the myths, the assumptions, the cliches that we have about the American South, and they peel back the often startling realities of how soul food and barbecue were co-opted by this sort of white Southern narrative. These books also explore the very real ramifications that slavery has had and continues to have on Black health and nutrition, on Black agriculture, and opportunities. And finally, this one, Grocery, The Buying and Selling of Food in America by Michael Ruhlman. So the reason I spend so much time talking about food is because food can tell us so much about a culture, about a people. Ruhlman, who is an amazing journalist, takes this premise one step further and says that a grocery store can tell us a lot about a culture, about a people, and he actually goes and spends some time working in a mid-sized grocery up in Ohio. And it's a fascinating glimpse into not only the history of grocery stores, but also our changing relationships to food, what it tells us about our economic situation, our desires, our fears as a people that goes way beyond food. You'll never look at a grocery store the same way again. So there you have it, my favorite cookbooks of the year. Now it's your turn. Leave me your answer in the comments below. It's gotten dark. I gotta go cook dinner. Certainly have enough recipes to get through. I'll catch you later. Remember, if you want to win all these incredible books, you have to be subscribed. Even if you don't want to win these books, you should be subscribed. Why don't you want to win these incredible books?